Hello, it's Monika from Crafting with Quilling Lady, and I hope you have absolutely fantastic day. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to create a dream catcher card using a free gift from Simply Cards and Papercraft issue 231. In the magazine, you can find lots of beautiful projects to try, but they also announced the Cardmaker of the Year 2022, and one of them is my friend Monika, aka PaperMona, and I left the link to her YouTube channel so you can check her out. Her projects are absolutely stunning, so please have a look at her creations. In the magazine you've got some stamp set collection and also one more stamp and cutting die, and for my project I decided to create my own background panel. And this way I've got 9.5 by 20.5 centimeter 300 GSM white stamping card, and I'm going to use some pigment opaque inks because I really want to do the beautiful background with some color variation and some heat embossing. And whenever you do any heat embossing, I do encourage you to use anti-static bag first, and we're going to do some stamping. I chose one of the feathers from Fabulous Feathers stamp set, which is a free gift with the magazine. If you haven't tried this magazine yet, please have a look because the stamp set is absolutely fabulous. As you can see, I'm trying to put two different ink colors on one stamp, and yes, you can do it. If you want, you can clean the stamp in between your pigment inks, and I do use some tissue to do it, which is super cool idea, and this way you can use any other colors as well, so they won't bleed or mix together. As you can see, I went with some yellows, pinks and greens for those feathers. So I've got the lemon tonic, grasshopper, pearl fig, pink tulip and honeypot, and all the names of the products I use in today's video you can check in the description down below if you're interested. And I do wonder, how often do you create backgrounds with your stamps? Please let me know in the comments down below. As you can see, you can actually create anything you want with those stamps, and I really like how colorful it is so far. Now I'm going to put my ink pads away, and it is time to add a little bit of embossing powder, and to do it I've got clear embossing powder by Wow. As you can see, the jar is really big, so it's going to last me forever. And with this technique you don't need very colorful embossing powders. All you need are your ink pads, and this is great because you can use clear embossing powder, and this way you can literally turn any stamp into beautiful design papers, and I really encourage you to try it. So when this is ready, I like it so far how it is, but I'm going to leave it to dry and move on to my next step. So now I've got a scrap piece of paper, and this one is again 300 GSM stamping card, and I'm going to stamp two of the other feathers, and I'm going to do heat embossing as well, but this time not with the clear embossing powder but gold embossing powder, because I do want to have some variation on my card, and it is a good idea to actually mix and match all your products from your stash, and I do encourage you to do it. So as you can see, I'm using VersaMark ink, which is clear transparent, and I'm going to use my gold embossing powder, one of my favorites in my stash. And here, when I stamp some of the feathers, the first three are totally okay. However, with the smaller one here, I was not very happy with the result when I put the embossing powder, so I heat set it, all of them, and I'm going to stamp the smaller feather twice again because I really want them to be perfect for my project, and I wonder, do you that as well in your card making? When you're not happy with some elements, do you stamp again or do you just leave it? Please let me know. I also wonder, how often do you create cards with feathers? And if you do use feathers, what occasion do you use it for? Please let me know. Because for this one, I decided to choose Sentiment Says Dream Big. Because why not? To color in my feathers, I'm going to use a selection of my Zig markers. These are watercolor markers, and they are perfect for blending, and you can achieve really beautiful watercolor results with it. So I'm going to use my wet paintbrush and mix the colors together. However, with the pink, I really wanted to stay true pink. So whenever I had wet paintbrush, I started with pink and then I moved to the blue one because I didn't want to have purple here. That's why I was very careful, especially with the pink. And when these are ready, I left them to dry for, let's say, 1 minute, and then I fussy cut all of them. You don't really need any matching dies because these shapes are really simple to fussy cut. So as you can see, I've got some gold embossing powder and some beautiful watercolor effects on those feathers. And I do wonder, how often do you mix your heat embossing powders and watercolor markers or zig markers? Please let me know. So when this is ready, I thought, let's create a dream catcher. So I've got 4 circle nesting dies from my stash, and I use some low tack tape to put them together, and I'm going to die cut them 3 times from 300 GSM white card because I really want them to be very thick and sturdy. Now I'm going to put 2 of the biggest circles together using my liquid glue, and this way I do have time to maneuver the elements and I will make sure that it will be adhered forever. And I'm going to do exactly the same with 2 smaller circles because I really need them to be put together. Now it is time to have a look at the stash, and I've got some embroidery thread I'm going to use. For today's project, I decided to go with some blues and very pale lilac. So I thought, yes, these colors would match my card beautifully, although I use some yellow and green, but I think that will work together. Now I'm going to put some red liner tape, and this one is 3 mil because I want this process to be very simple, and whenever you create your own dream catcher, use some red liner tape. It will save you so much time and frustration. So as you can see, I'm going to use my scissors to cut the end off, and I'm going to put the same red liner tape on one of the smaller circles. And I do wonder, have you actually ever created a card with a dream catcher? And maybe if you haven't, maybe you created a big one to put on a wall. If you have, please let me know what was the color palette you created for your project. I'm really curious. As you know me, I really like colorful projects. That's why I went with so many colors here. I decided to create a crescent moon here. So I'm going to put the smallest and the biggest circles together, and to hold them, I'm going to use a small piece of red liner tape. And now it is time to create our focal element. And as you can see, I'm just wrapping the biggest and the smallest circles together. What I really wanted to achieve here is like some kind of triangles. Maybe it is not very visible here, but trust me, when you see the finished project, you will know exactly what I mean. I really wanted to have that focal element very catchy. I love dream catchers, they are just so beautiful. And I just couldn't resist. When I saw that beautiful, fabulous feathers stamp set collection, I thought I really need to create a dream catcher. The only problem I had is to choose the color palette. But then when I had a look at those embroidery threads, and what's really good about this project, you can actually use some scraps from your embroidery threads. You don't need a lot. And actually, as you can see, I've got loads of blues ones, which I started a long time ago, and I just have a tiny bit of it, which works perfectly fine for this project. Now I'm going to do I'm going to use some red liner tape just to put those ends together, and they won't go unravel. And this is very crucial for your project. Now I'm going to start putting all the blues around that biggest circle and also the small circle as well. And yes, I do have some red liner tape I'm going to put on top, and this time I'm going to create 3 different blues together, and I think that adds so much to the project. And I wonder, how often these embroidery threads in your card making, and if you do use them, what do you use them for? Just to decorate some ribbon threading dies, or maybe something else? I'm really curious, so please let me know. And I do hope that this video will inspire you to create your own dream catcher or a project with some feathers. don't forget to like this video because that means so much to me, and I would really appreciate if you leave a comment as well. As you can see, I'm just wrapping that bigger circle, and I'm going to alternate all those blue colors, and I will use the same technique for the smaller circle as well. And when this is finished, I'm going to put some red liner tape on the back and put those ends together so they won't be visible and they will be completely finished. And I do encourage that you do exactly the same, especially when you use some thread, because this way everything will look professionally finished, and that's exactly what we want here. As you can see, it was a little bit time consuming, but I absolutely love the process, and yes, I'm going to finish off camera so you don't waste more time just watching me putting the thread together. So when this is finished, as you can see, I already put some red liner tape on the back and put those ends together. And it is time to assemble the whole dream catcher. But first, I thought let's use that beautiful pale lilac and create 5 different ends for our feathers we created earlier. And to do it, I'm just going to make a knot. Super simple and quick. And I'm going to do it 5 times because I do have 5 feathers here. And yes, it is super simple. And what I really like about this project, I've never seen anything like this before, and I really like to experiment with all the stamps and all my stash, and I do encourage you do the same. Have a look what you've got and create something beautiful today. Now it is time to put our embroidery threaded top circle and also the smallest one as well. And our dream catcher is nearly finished. Now we just have to add those feathers, and to do it, I thought let's use some red liner tape, but before we assemble the whole card together, I thought let's work on our background panel a little bit more. So I'm going to use 2 green pigment opaque inks from Spectrum Noir, and I'm going to use ink blending tool to apply the color. And yes, you can do it with pigment inks. Don't be scared, you don't have to always use distress oxide inks to create your backgrounds. You can literally use any inks from your stash. So have a look what you've got, use it, create something beautiful and stunning. And at this point I thought I really like it, but there is so much green on it, so I decided to use a piece of cloth to clean all the embossed feathers, and this way it will actually show all the feathers more beautiful. I'm not really sure if you can see it in the camera, but in real life it really makes a difference. Now I'm going to add some gold splatters using Starry colors, Gansai Tambi by Kuretake, and all the names of the products I use in today's video you can check in the description down below. And I think those gold splatters add so much, especially with those gold heat embossed feathers. And I do wonder how often these splatters on your cards, please let me know. As you can see, it is super simple. I'm just using a water brush and some paint. And when this is ready, I thought I like it, but there is still something missing. So first I'm going to leave it to dry and put some red liner tape on the back of my feathers and then adhere them to my embroidery thread. But I was still looking at the background panel and I thought I really like it. However, I really like all those distressed edges, so I had a look at all the opaque pigment inks and I did find brown as well. So I thought that will give more dimension to my project, and yes, I'm going to do it. I'm going to use Friar Brown from Spectrum Noir and add that color on the edge. And this way it really brings all the projects together. And again, I'm going to use my cloth to clean all those embossed elements, and it will be beautiful. I do wonder how often do you distress edges on your panels. When this is ready, I decided to stamp a sentiment. And again, I'm going to do some heat embossing with opaque pigment inks, and this one, it is called Jet Black. It is very true black. I love it. So now it is time to use our clear embossing powder, put it on top and heat set it. I really like the way it looks. I wanted to put the sentiment either in the space where the dream catcher is or in the corner. I was thinking about this and then decided let's do it at the bottom. Now it is time to put our card on our DL card base. It is super simple, but first I decided to use the edge of my scissors, and yes, it is time to distress all the edges and make sure that they look a little bit more vintage. As usual, I use my one and only liquid glue, magic glue, to put all those elements together. And it is time to put our dream catcher, and again I'm going to use exactly the same liquid glue, magic glue, because it does give me that time to maneuver all my elements and it dries clear. When this is ready, I thought I love it, but there is one more thing missing, and you probably guessed it. We do need some gold gems. I couldn't resist. I had to put them in the corners of my card, and it is complete. As you can see, the dream catcher is attached to the card, however, the feathers are not, so you can actually move them. And that's what I like about this project. If you like this project, please let me know in the comments down below, and don't forget to like this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And don't forget that every Monday and Thursday I've got videos on my channel. Have a wonderful day and happy crafting! Bye!